Today, we'll be talking around a rather serious subject. We welcome Lorraine Mitchell. Thanks, Lorraine, for coming to talk to us.
Thanks,
Lorraine deals with a very serious subject. Actually, Lorraine, could you tell us what you do?
Yeah, so I am a clinical social worker, and I trained at, I worked at Lifeline so for many years, and then I also worked at the Akiso psychiatric clinics. And I think what I was most conscious about is the fact that there isn't enough work that is being done around suicide prevention and awareness. What is it that that keeps this such a secret? Because that's the issue with suicide. Because there's that bridge between me and the world, and I feel like people wouldn't understand me.
Well, it is a stigma. There is a stigma attached to suicide.
That's right.
We're talking about September, October, and we're thinking, oh, this is lovely spring. We can all do that. We can all talk about that sort of thing. But depression is quite a hard subject to talk about, let alone suicide. Is this really a phenomenon in South Africa and the world, or are there only a few cases of suicide?
Suicide is an epidemic in South Africa.
Really?
We are in South Africa. We have the eighth highest number of suicides in the world.
Oh, really?
So worldwide, we're looking at over 1 million suicides, which is greater than the wars and any other kind of. It's a very high statistic. In South Africa, which I don't believe is accurately reported, they say that there's 23 suicides a day. So what we're looking at is every hour we have a suicide.
Every hour?
And in that time, there's also 20 attempted suicides. So we've got 21 people every hour of the day either attempting or completing a suicide. I mean, that 8,000 people that we're losing every year in South Africa is an epidemic.
And this is why we want to showcase this. Lorraine, you're one of our counsellors. Even with counselling at the Sanctuary, you've come across cases of people who do feel suicidal, have had those sort of thoughts, and sometimes those thoughts are not going away. In fact, they're progressing. Is that correct?
Well, that is how the journey of someone who is suicidal, because what we know is that there's an underlying depression for most people who are suicidal. Okay. So it's either bipolar disorder and they're in their low mood, or there's depression, or even schizophrenia. Right. So there's 90% of people who then eventually complete a suicide, there is some underlying depression. But like you're saying, Hilary, they might, kind of be managing that depression for some time, but then there's a catalyst or there's some change. And it might be a retrenchment, it might be a divorce, it might be a loss of a significant other. But that then also kind of just capitulates them into that suicidal thoughts. The other thing around suicide is that if I'm suicidal, I'm almost obsessing about it every day.
Right.
So they become obsessively intrusive thought processes. And I will lie in bed at night and I will think about the how, the when, the what, the who will find me, how will I make a success of ending my life. But remembering also that it's not that people want to die. That's not the intention or the motivation for suicide.
So what is the motivation?
It's because of this emotional pain that I want to end.
The pain.
So what it is, it's a form of escaping this intense, overwhelming despair, devastation, hopelessness that I feel. And in fact, how people reframe it if they're suicidal is almost like I'm doing my family a favor because I'm a burden on them. So what we're looking at is like even some other behavior might be handing over things, like this is my grand's and I'd like you to have it. Or making sure that their circumstances are right. Okay. So getting their will in place. What I also find is that there's reckless behavior. So they might be driving hectically or doing parachute and gliding and all those kind of things. And people miss that because we think, well, that person is someone who's kind of zealous for life and they're out there and they're doing all these things. But what often happens is that that's the only way that they can actually feel exhilarated or the adrenaline. Normally, their day-to-day is just humdrum and very low,
depressed.
Very depressed. And the other part of that is that if something happens, then my desire to end the pain has been fulfilled. So it's a car accident. And Now, I also have my own personal perception that a lot of our car accidents in South Africa, where people are on their own, or young people, or they're drinking and driving, it's self-harm behavior to the point where they could end their lives, but consciously choosing to do that. And so those statistics are, wouldn't be included in the suicide statistics, but what I do think is that they kind of thinking for their families as well. Because if I complete a suicide, very often I can't get the payout of our policies. But if I'm dying in a car accident, then I can.
Yes. Lorraine, thank you so much for your discussion around the subject. If you'd like to know more, please come and visit our website, the Santry Soul Care Centre. Lorraine will also have details of her courses. For anyone who would like to call her, we will have her number on the screen or on the YouTube videos, also on social media. Please don't hesitate. It's much better to be informed than very distraught at a possible negative outcome. We need to know more about the subject. God bless. Till we meet again. Bye-bye now.